Hello, Paladins fans, and welcome to the Paladins World Championship. Aggro going to be steering you through the vast majority of this weekend. Lucky enough to be joined by Gormizer right now as we get set to kick off our Paladins World Championship. I know you've all been waiting to see who's going to be the best Paladins team in the whole world, and you've come to the right spot. Now, obviously, with everything going on, we can't really do cross-region play the way we would like. So instead, it's going to be regional championships each day. What that means is today is North America, Friday. By the end of today, we will have crowned the North American champion. We'll do the same for Europe tomorrow and finally Brazil on Sunday. And Gormizer, that means that these four teams in each region are going to have some long days ahead of them, but with the ultimate prize at the very end.
Yeah, 6 full sets that they're going to be going through. It's double elimination, all best of 5s throughout, and if you do manage to stay up in that top bracket when you get to the finals, you have that one-game advantage, but we'll get to that way later today when they make it through there. Right now, it is that double elim nature that normally is very helpful for a lot of these teams, right? If you're Pickled Pepper, you're maybe not too stressed out about it, right? Like, you're coming in as the #1 seed, you're not worried about that bottom bracket just yet, but for everybody else, it is that second chance. You maybe get this matchup like YeezyPogChamp is about to face, that it's going to be more difficult for you. You aren't completely eliminated here at the very beginning. You have that chance to go through those losers rounds and then make it still back to those Grands Finals.
And that's the big thing, is that you want to get on a win streak early because you don't want to have to fight up against that one-game automatic advantage in the finals. You don't want to have to face off against a team that's been red hot all day long. And for that reason, I feel like win streaks are going to be extra important. Normally, over the course of a whole tournament, teams can lose momentum. You go get food, you go to bed, you wake up the next morning, you don't know if you're going to be able to carry that momentum over. Here, today, you're going to be able to carry that momentum all the way through. And for a team like Pickled Pepper, that seems like something that's a real possibility.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that they need to be, I want to say, worried about if you're every other team, right, is whoever gets on that hot streak. And because of the fact that they have such a stellar streak so far just in the phase, 14-1, you have to look at the #1 seed as being the biggest threat, right? They're the ones that, like you said, they can be dealt the hot hand, they could come through, and maybe we're not talking 3-0s all day, but as long as you're winning, it doesn't really matter when you get to the end. But at the same time, you get to the finals, yes, you have that one-game advantage, but you're still technically 3 games away from getting second place in that case. So just as much as the hot streak I think is important up top, there's also maybe potential for a hot streak to be just as important down below. And that's the thing, you're coming in as the 14-1 team here if you are Pickled Pepper, and I think they're the ones that, like we had said, are more than likely going to be dealt the proper hand up top.
Now, if you're like me, you haven't been watching Paladins week in, week out, you're getting ready to catch up for these Paladins World Championships. Let's remind you of the Pickled Pepper roster. We got Legacy, Emit, Pain, Feel, Skeppy, and Wonderful. Who's really been the driving force behind this team this year, Gore?
All of them? Is that that's a weird thing to say? It's just so just crazy. When you look at this team, there's going to be highlights, and I can imagine every single player on this team having something behind them. Your DPS are going to have the more flashy plays. That's where Pain comes in. That's where Skeppy comes in. Both of them have been insanely talented players, again, for years at this point. But every single person on this team is making strides for them, is making space for them, is causing trouble for somebody on the other team, or if, Feel's case, because you're the support, keeping your team alive in these dire moments and making sure that they go forward. I think that's really what their strength is that you've got 5 of the best players that have played Paladins at this level all on a team together, and they just work so perfectly together because they have that experience, not just this year, but prior in the console league, playing against and with each other. I think just all of that compounds together to make them such a stellar unit.
Yeah, you don't get to 14-1 by carrying 4 other dudes, you know what I mean? That you're going to need a team effort, and that's certainly what you've had from Pickled Pepper. On the other side, we have YeezyPogChamp, a team consisting of a couple of very, very talented dudes, but as you've already mentioned, they probably have their work cut out for them here today.
Yeah, again, a lot of names on this team that are very talented and have been around and playing at a high level for years, but it is the difference of how well you can mesh together as a team today that I think is going to break it down. You've got Muadak, you've got Yato Acosta, both you just got to see some highlights for that. Both have some insanely good moments, but it's going to be the question of consistency today for YeezyPogChamp. How much are we going to see the team that got their 8 wins, or how much are we going to see the team that got their 7-set losses so far throughout Phase 2? That's the real question. I think they still have a ton of capability. Their high end is incredibly high. The ceiling for this team is incredibly high. It is just coming up, showing up on the day, much like we had mentioned earlier. You've got one day to play. This needs to be the day that everyone shows up.
And that's what's going to happen if you're YeezyPogChamp, if you want to remain among the winner side bracket, though, as we already covered, it is double elims, so not the end of the road for them if they run up against the brick wall that we expect. Jaguar Falls is going to be our first map. Warder's Gate and Frog Isle, Ice Mines, and Stone Keep. We will not see any of those 4 maps, as those have been banned by the 2 teams. That leaves us here with Jag Falls, Gormizer. What do you expect to see in this opening map?
Honestly, this is the map that I think I have the most fun with because there's just enough flavor that can be added in. North America doesn't do it as much, although he's been on the rise, but like Lex can come through, Andrew can be solid on this map. If you're willing and you can do the draft properly, then you could potentially pull out something like a Drogo's here. Bomb King, this is a very good map for him as well. Willow, we've seen on the rise. But the biggest thing so far in North America, and I think it's started to transfer to other regions, we've seen it a lot in Europe and Brazil as well, has been Torvald right now. If he is not banned, more than likely by YeezyPogChamp over there on the right side, then you can guarantee Pickled Pepper are going to try and scoop him up.
Yeah, that's something you have to watch out for, is Jedos and Torvald are our first 2 bans. It's been a lot of discussion about healers last time I was here on the Paladin side. Gormizer was really focusing in on getting Jedos and getting Corvus and seeing where that's going to really play out. Is that the meta that you could expect to continue at least towards the very beginning end of this World Championship?
I think they're still going to be prominent. I mean, Genos gets first ban, right? He's still someone that has to be taken through. But you're noticing, and I think this is a proper shift from YeezyPogChamp, because you have to ban something like Torvald. Tanks right now, especially the ones that are very effective, can be just oppressive. But the thing is IO's available that comes through. So if you are going to ban something like Genos Corvus, you're then letting through the next best and or maybe the best support that's still available. So you kind of have to juggle which one you want, which one you think is going to fit well. Genos, that permanent damage boost is just too much, even for someone like Pickled Pepper to deal with. So I like the fact that they ban him, same reason that you ban something like the Torvald on the other side.
And the Makoa is the first pick. Now, Makoa's competitive history is a tale of 2 cities. Truly, it was top of the leaderboard, #1 pick, never got through, was always banned, and then really went down into the basement for a long time. Is this a reasonable thing these days, Gormizer? The Makoa's back to first pick?
Yeah, the last few weeks, it was really, I was timid when he first showed up. I was like, look, guys, we've seen Makoa the last couple of times. Like you had said, he disappeared. There were still a couple of teams that were willing to pull him out, even with all the nerfs he had, and he just didn't look great. It literally did come down to, are you hitting your hooks? If you are, then Makoa's fine. Maybe you have someone that's a little more consistent, but if you aren't, then you're just missing a person on your team all of a sudden. But again, recently he's been on this resurgence. He got a couple of buffs back to what had been nerfed, so he's definitely on the rise, and a lot of teams have been first picking him. And especially against something like a Vivian, I really like this for Pickled Pepper.
Going to be in a good spot if you can find those hooks onto that backliner, as Io now picked up. You mentioned her coming back into competitive viability. This is one that you just leave the dog on the point and get your zone going, and now you've got an Ashe on your team as well to really get a staunch front line for this Io.
You know, I mean, you roll it back, I guess 13 months at this point, a little over a year. I feel like this is a good reminder. Io had a 100% win rate at the last World Championship, so that is something to be afraid of. I think Corvus is definitely going to be able to give her trouble, but having that extra just entity that exists on your team to sit on the objective and either contest it right now against the Khan, when Ashe and Makoa can then get aggressive with the rest of the team, whatever their 2 DPS that they're about to lock in are, then it just makes it so much easier for you. I mean, Pickled Pepper get to fight fully as a 5-man squad, whereas YeezyPogChamp have to dance around that objective now.
Well, a couple flanks locked in. Xin by YeezyPogChamp, and now the Lex by Pickled Pepper. You said it's something that North America maybe not as willing to do, pull out something like the Lex here on Jag Falls, but how do you like this Lex selection with this draft?
I think it's really solid. Again, based on what they have, I see a couple of shields, which your ult is going to be able to break through there for Khan and Vivian. Plus, he's just got good damage, and I know the players on Pickled Pepper, specifically on Jag Falls, really like this pick. I think, realistically, the weakest part of this composition, I can't believe I'm saying this, is the Victor that comes through, right? It's just one of those maps that's a little awkward for him, but at the same time, not really. Like, you can still hip fire and be just as solid if you're aiming down sights. There's a lot of parts of this map that Victor's going to be able to be successful in. I just think Zen and Koga are going to be able to get to him pretty consistently, so his survivability here is really what's in question. How long, or maybe how quick he can dispose of them versus when they get to him. Otherwise, he's going to be falling down quite a few times.
Well, let's kick it off. The Paladins World Championship starting in North America. Let's get it down to the casters to kick off the penultimate event of the year.
It's been a long, interesting year for these teams playing in the PPC, and for the North American region, it all comes down to today. My name is Dolson. Kresnik is with me to walk through game number 1 between Pickled Pepper and YeezyPogChamp. And Krez, this is one, lopsided, I think, in fan voting, if you want to look at things like that. Pickled Pepper definitely the favorites, not only in this matchup, but maybe in the entire region.
Yeah, I don't think that's up for debate at all with how successful they've been since coming in. And I think it's actually the craziest thing to me about this matchup is that these are both the teams that relegated in. Neither of these teams started here, and here we are at the regional world championships effectively watching them battle to potentially take it all, with one being the favorite. I love seeing the players come in hungry and manage to succeed off of it. And both these teams, I think, ended up with solid drafts, but I am a little bit worried about this Victor and how well he's going to survive against this double flanker if they can get onto him.
Gore expressed some similar concerns on the desk, and as of right now, Skeppy all alone on the left-hand side of the map. That's exactly where he'll want to be, in an area where you can still pour out damage, but look at the rest of Pickled Pepper, the way they're covering those angles. Both teams have sort of swapped sides here. Skeppy now backing up to the YeezyPogChamp side of the map. Emmett Payne, though, looking for a bit of a flank, but you gotta look at the point here. 81% already for Pickled Pepper. Nobody from YeezyPogChamp has been able to find a toe on in. Ratatouille looks for the flank, but he finds death. Waiting on the other side is Skeppy, finally able to swing for first blood, and now you might see the dominoes fall, but it's not necessarily for Pickled Pepper. Mwadak will pick up one. Pickled Pepper after a huge lead here, 93% on the point.
Having this IO, having these tanks to lock down different choke points meant that Yeezy really couldn't get in. They just surrounded them and never actually found space. Another pick onto Sin Cara will basically secure this for them, even as this overtime tries to come in, but the positioning by them was fantastic, and Emmett Payne is just helping clean up anyone who tries to get OT.
Anyone from Pickled Pepper that was not involved a moment ago suddenly is running down YeezyPogChamp. Sprays already coming out. Pickled Pepper, point number 1 on the board. YeezyPogChamp, not much of a leg to stand on there. And Krez, I think you gotta love the rotation you kind of saw from Pickled Pepper early on there. YeezyPogChamp searching in the back line for that Victor, and Skeppy was just kind of able to counter-rotate away, keeping his team between himself and the enemies.
And that's how you have to play this map in general. It is a map of rotation or poking them out, right? I think they have a decent poke comp, but they have to protect Skeppy the whole time, and they kept him in the core of their team. Now he's in a great position again with this whole team and in a place where he can't really be dove, making it so hard for YeezyPogChamp to break out and take any ground here whatsoever. And a great hook should get one kill, but they actually find another one on their own.
Ballenberry takes a tumble here. Now look at Skeppy sprinting straight up through the middle. Already has one. A little bit of damage around the side from Legacy, and then a grenade to make it a double for Skeppy. YeezyPogChamp down to 1 back in their base and defending. Now you got to look at those ultimates. You got the IO ult online. Assert Dominance. Barrage for Pickled Pepper could force this one through, but might not have to use them. There's a minute and 20 seconds left. If you can just try once or twice to maybe get this through, just with some kills, you're going to be feeling a lot more comfortable going into that next mid-fight. You have to leave just for a moment. If you're Legacy, you've taken too much damage. Ratatouille will finally finish off the kill. Now Pickled Pepper have to think twice about how long they want to hang out here in YeezyPogChamp's side of the map, because things could get worse. You could get staggered out, but you got to contest as long as you possibly can. Pickled Pepper, they're going to use the Assert Dominance. They want to keep going here, but the health bar's trending in the wrong direction for the blue side of the fight here. Yato Acosta into the billow. He'll stay alive, and Ratatouille adds another on maybe the most important target in Skeppy.
I like the idea of the assert dominance, but I think maybe they had to use it earlier. They just got surrounded and chipped way too low. Even with a Xin stunned in front of everybody, Skeppy just wasn't willing to peek because he had to be concerned about this Koga that found its way into the back line. They did it early enough where they have a chance to go again here, both tanks in their lanes and ready. But they need to get an early pick, because after they spent that, I know that they're not going to be willing to spend anything else.
In we go. Watch out for Legacy here. He'll have the Ancient Rage. Nearly got the hook out of the sky, but it looks like a whirl kept Xin alive just for a little bit longer. 4 seconds left in on the overtime. Have YeezyPogChamp done enough to tie up this game? We'll find out here shortly as overtime is on field. Watch out for a Be Gone. Could be used here to help that cart on in as well. Legacy opening kill onto Sin Cara. YeezyPogChamp down to 3 defenders. Yaro Acosta, the saving grace here is wonderful. Will end up going down. Nobody has looked at Mwadak yet. This Vivian's still alive in the back now. It's an Ancient Rage that gets used. YeezyPogChamp have to disengage, and Pickled Pepper will roll it on in for their second point.
Yeah, no ult spent for that initial fight, other than the Law got them a little bit of an opening, but that Ancient Rage getting forced out does, I think, help Yeezy's chances here in this following one. But damage chart's actually surprising for me to see the Koga on top. I knew he was doing well, but I thought that Skeppy, with all the protection he's had, would manage to outpace him. But
right.
Good on Ratatouille, honestly, to keep themselves in the game. But Yeezy, they can kind of do the same thing they did last round, even though it didn't work out. Now the difference maker is they have the spite with the guillotine. They have the overpower 2 executes where even if they can't get in, they can take them out, pull them away, find their kills, and then the 3 of them won't be able to stop the rest of Yeezy from flooding in. They're already struggling even when they have most of their roster alive.
Here's a bit of an adaptation. Ratatouille is going to move to the right here, maybe trying to see a Skeppy for a similar route as he did last time. Wonderful covering this flank, though. Sin Cara is going to be here to match him as well. Overpower, this one's good. Wonderful, no chance to stay alive there. Nice opening pick for YeezyPogChamp. Luna's done her job, 39%. And Pickled Pepper will be forced back. Emmett Payne's still alive, though. This Lex a bit of a saving grace in a lot of these fights as well. 42% in climbing for YeezyPogChamp. They've got the fast cap, the double tick on their side. That's working out in their favor. Oh, there's a hook on in. The Billow just in time, and the healing will be there as well. And Xin will escape with his life once more. Pickled Pepper, they need to go now, though. They've gotten themselves back onto the point. That's Luna doing some work here. Ultimate's starting to swing, and Assert Dominance drops down in the back. That's enough to execute Ball and Berry here. Suddenly the snowball starts to roll. Pickled Pepper adding some big kills to their belt, and it looks like point number 3 will notch onto that scoreboard shortly.
And Wonderful getting another Assert Dominance, being willing to spend it right away. The man is just is on fire right now on Ash, and Payne is clearly feeling that. Shooting the bodies. They're feeling it as well, the momentum they're carrying right now. Just getting to their heads. I don't know how much of a mental team Yeezy are, but if it works for them, this could help Pickled Pepper continue what they're already doing here. This forward zone Emmett Payne on this Lex, he's already been doing great so far this game, and I'm surprised they kind of backed off of the Lex for a while since the patch came out. I think they knew they were qualifying for regionals, right? So drop it, come back to it later. Maybe people forget. Apparently they have, because Emmett Payne has looked unstoppable so far on this offense.
Well, the team to beat in North America looks like they came to play here this weekend, at least in game number 1. YeezyPogChamp still a chance to come back, but this is a tall, tall hill to climb coming back from 3-0 down. It all starts here on this defense. If nothing else, YeezyPogChamp have done well in that by this time in our last round, this cart was already knocking on the door and nearly went in. So Pickled Pepper held at bay just a little bit longer. Mwadak doing his best to output a similar amount of damage from what Skeppy's been doing, but difficult when you're going to get dove in the back. And look at that, too many targets to look at. Oh, the commander's grab up and over. That's good for a kill for Sin Cara. That'll buy you a little bit of time if you're on the defense. If you're YeezyPogChamp, that's exactly what the doctor ordered here. That's shielding from Legacy enough to keep them in range, and Pickled Pepper not going away quietly.
They do get one more pick, but they have to wait so long for Wonderful to get back, and another execute will equalize things. That's why this comp is so powerful. That Yeezy have, even though it's been struggling in some of this, they can just execute people, take them out of the fight as soon as something goes wrong. And it charges up pretty quick, too. We almost have the overpower up again for Sin Cara here. Mwadak to clean up these kills, too. I think that's solid, have the Vivian in this position, right? The Ashe is going to have to take a lot of damage to come in, and once they get Wrecker up, they can actually burn down Makoa through the shell if they go fast enough.
Ooh. Here we go. It's an assert dominance into the back line from Wonderful. That'll start off this fight. Be Gone goes flying as well. Not much in the terms of kills early on here in this fight, but it's a hook back in onto Sin Cara. Will that help set something up? Skeppy, realizing his attention is best paid elsewhere, won't worry about Sin Cara because Emmett Payne's going to get it done, looking for a double, but Skeppy cleans up this one. Suddenly, YeezyPogChamp are crumbling. Pickled Pepper are rolling, and it is 4-0 to start off their weekend.
And then Makoa first pick Jaguar Falls pays off 100% in the end. Just having that, he is so strong, and you can't really ban him. You have to prioritize some of these other things, but he plops that shield in the way, and a choke point immediately is locked out. Even though Yeezy had that great surround, right? They had different choke points locked around them, but all they had to do was drop a half shell, go into it, and it's not like Yeezy are going to shoot it. They would give him 10 seconds of free cooldown if they did.
Well, Krez, that was, what, like a 7 or 8 minute game, something like that. This is a worrying trend if you're any of the other 3 teams competing here on this this Friday afternoon against Pickled Pepper. They look unstoppable. Still a chance, though, for YeezyPogChamp to slow things down in game number 2. But before we get there, we'll go back to the desk to break this one down.
Thank you, David Kresnick. An easy breezy win here in game number 1 for Pickled Pepper. And Gore, we were talking a lot about that Makoa first pick. Looks pretty darn good there for Pickled Pepper in game 1.
If you hit your hooks, it's going to look nothing but great, right? And it's just because it's so consistent at shutting people down, and especially in a comp like that, you only have one tank to worry about, so you hook a support or one of 3 DPS. Like, I mean, you've got a 4 out of 5 chance of hitting somebody that your team is going to be able to just eradicate after you grab them. So I think a really good pick for them, and like you said, played it incredibly well. And it just kind of brings me back. We were talking about this as we got in and for the day, but looking at the last time these two teams played, 1 point throughout the 3 games was able to get picked up by YeezyPogChamp. They're hoping for something different this time around. They don't want it to be 4-0 3 times in a row. And much as Dave had just said, this is something that's a little bit of a worrying trend. I mean, you get Payne onto a pick that this team really likes. Not a lot of people in North America are playing this Lex outside of Pickled Pepper, but they love it on Jag Falls. And it's not really something you can ban and feel confident in. There's a lot of stuff to try and get rid of right now that it just feels like if you don't ban it, Pickled Pepper are going to be able to have the time of their lives, and that is a worrying trend for them, especially if they get off to a hot streak to begin everything as well.
And boy, did they. I mean, I don't think we saw the IO take a spill in the first round where Pickled Pepper went up 2-0. I don't know that she died in the second. It was really, really clean play, and it felt like this double front line of Ash and Makoa. It was really a lot of this, letting Wonderful go in zone, be the initiator, and then this Makoa was sitting back and just hooking people into the teeth of the DPS, and from there it looked pretty easy for them. Good flanking there by the Lex, of course, as no, field goes 0-0 and 19. Pretty close to the ideal score line for him, and then 8-0 and 11 for Emmett Payne on that Lex.
Yeah, I think those two, obviously the biggest minutes, if you can't kill the support, you know you're having a bad time. The fact that the highest deaths, Skeppy, but we kind of expected him to die because he's playing Victor against a couple of flanks, but the highest deaths are on one of your tanks. That's exactly how you want it to be, because Ash dies 4 times, still gets 3rd highest damage on her team because of how aggressive they are. And this is something, I mean, this worried us last year during the World Championships. It's going to worry me a little bit now. I'm starting to see some familiar trends. If you do not ban Io, double off-tank is the way to go. She fulfills that role. You throw down Luna, you let Luna be the one on the objective, and then you let your tanks go for something aggressive. You've got your Rom, your Ashe, your Makoa. Even a Nara can then get aggressive at that point. She doesn't have to worry about the objective. She can go for the zone because you already have someone focusing there, and that's where things get very difficult to deal with. Now, instead of burning down 1 tank, which is what, you know, we had Pickled Pepper dealing with that game, you're now having to deal with 2, and they are not going to stop until you are pushed back into your base. It is a very dangerous trend to go against.
So only 1 game in, IO only 1-0, but something to keep an eye on, not just in North America today, but Europe and Brazil tomorrow. I find myself agreeing there, Gore, as Ascension Peak will be our second map. Not quite as flank-friendly, I feel like, as Jaguar Falls. So something tells me we're not going to see Lex here on Ascension Peak.
I'm really interested to see if either of these teams are going to pull out the two flanks that always come to my mind on this map. I mean, this is a big one for Maeve and Eevee, but neither of these teams really scream Maeve and Eevee to me. Definitely not Pickled Pepper, although I think they do have some flexibility onto the Maeve. But YeezyPogChamp might not be able to make that same transition. And this is a good map for it, but this is also a big map. Those statues inside the objective, if you have a good tank player, will dance around those. We've seen plenty of times for Pickled Pepper to do that. The question I have is actually going to be for YeezyPogChamp, because this map kind of recently made its way back into the rotation. It's been a little while since a lot of teams have had to play it. Pickled Pepper have history on their side. They've played in some of the most competitive sets that they've played competitively, period, on this map. So they know how to make it flow for them and how to make it work. And I'm wondering, YeezyPogChamp first pick here makes me think and assume that they are the ones who chose the map. What kind of strategy they have coming into this?
Well, immediately their strategy is get rid of that IO, and I think that we can both agree that that's not a horrible place to start after what we just watched. Letting the IO control the point and allowing the two off-tanks to gain space really seems like a strategy that we're going to see be pretty successful this weekend. So immediately banned away here by YeezyPogChamp. Torvald is the answer by Pickled Pepper, and immediately I'm thinking we might have to see this IO be a continued ban throughout not just this set, but even more to come.
And that's where I get like to my nitpicky, where I'm just like, you know what, if your first pick, like your support better be able to play it. Look, I'm looking down, I see Ball and Berry on the list, I know he can play IO. So it's one of those things that, in my mind, if you are first pick, the other side should be forced to ban the IO away from you. The problem is that there's so many high priority tanks right now that there's that risk. I mean, look, you're going to first pick Khan. Last game it was first pick Makoa. If you're not going to top 3 the IO, then maybe you're lucky, the same way Pickled Pepper were last time. But otherwise, I anticipate, hey, we didn't first pick IO, the other team will scoop her up. So it does have that balancing point of where you prioritize her for your team.
Well, I mean, my words here, Gormizer, I said I didn't expect to see Lex on Ascension peak, but top 2 pick here for Pickled Pepper. Not just slide him in towards the very end of the draft. They prioritize the Lex on this map.
I think, again, well, you have to factor in a couple of things. One is you've got 2 players, one of which is warmed up now on top of this Lex, so that probably drives a little bit of that factor. But also the fact that this is a map that, even though the flanks maybe aren't as big, I'm thinking mobility flanks are the ones that I always would go for. That's why I mentioned Maeve and Eevee. I think Lex, because of the movement speed you can have with him and his ability to traverse the map, can still find it. Plus, he's hit scan, which is always going to be solid for mainly the players of Pickled Pepper, but realistically it thwarts things like Drogo's Willow, both that work pretty well on this map. I mean, it's been a while since I've gotten to see a Drogo's on this map. Really just Drogo's in general, but this is one of the ones that he can look solid on. Same thing for if you lock in like an Andro here for YeezyPogChamp. Lex has a pretty good direction to lock him down in terms of a counter matchup.
Strix and Ash are the next 2 for Pickled Pepper, as Vivian once again by YeezyPogChamp, but now they go towards that Grover and a Sky. Interesting draft here by YeezyPogChamp. How you feeling about this Sky, Gormizer?
I like Sky. I think she has like a 70-some-odd% win rate throughout Phase 2 in North America. But the downside of that is that all of the wins, I think, were Pickled Pepper. If I remember correctly, like they were the team that would run Sky, usually on like Jag Falls, and they would just win with her. And then there were a couple of losses, 2 or 3, throughout all of her games that she played. But she did relatively well. It was just consistently only 1 to 2 players that ever picked her up. So YeezyPogChamp have a good chance here, really good matchup against the Ash and the Makoa with the percent damage she can do. Or if you're going to go for extra healing, then you've got extra healing for your team, which could maybe facilitate Vivian and Grover to come through a little bit. It helps that balancing act that is Grover damage plus healing, Sky damage plus healing that can come through. So neither one maybe being great at, you know, an individual stat, or both stats I should say, but the other one being able to make up for the other's lack, and then letting Vivian kind of be the shining star throughout all of it.
A well-rounded composition in that way here for YeezyPogChamp, but only a few swaps by Pickled Pepper. Corvus and Strix in for Io and Victor. The rest of the draft looking very, very similar. Do you expect a similar result?
I'm feeling pretty heavy for Pickled Pepper. I think this is a good fight, though, for YeezyPogChamp in the first few rounds. I don't think it's going to be as fast of a 4-0, but I don't know how long it's going to last. The thing about Sky is she's really great until 2 or 3 of the other team have illuminate 1 or 2, right? The minute that you can see her a little further away, she starts to fall off, especially when the Makoa picks her up and those hooks are hitting consistently.
Pickled Pepper looking to take a commanding 2-0 lead in the first game, the North America Paladins World Championship. Let's throw it down to the casters for game number 2.
Can move quickly here at the Paladins World Championships, and they might start moving quickly if Pickled Pepper can find another fast win here on Ascension Peak. YeezyPogChamp have drafted a composition, Krez, that we have seen some success from, pairing this Grover with the Sky following around one of the off tanks or the tank. This time Ratatouille looks like Yaro Acosta will be in behind. It's an interesting take that might give YeezyPogChamp some survivability.
I mean, term Sky, when Season 3 came out, was something that people were cheesing out casuals with for weeks. Honestly, it kind of fell off, but nothing really changed about it. It should still be better than it was before here. They can definitely play their sustain as hard as they want here, and there is the pairing right there on the objective, but they're being slowed down a lot by this half shell, and that's going to be the big problem, because they can't burn it. They're going to give him so much cooldown back, but looks like Wonderful maybe overstepped here on the side.
Ooh, he gets pulled right back on in, but look at this now. Yaro Acosta, the one being hooked. First blood over to YeezyPogChamp. Took about a minute and a half to get there. Both of these teams just exchanging some poke damage, and finally, just an overstep from Wonderful will give YeezyPogChamp a bit more of a commanding position here on the fight. Now Skeppy piloting this Strix, looking for some headshot damage. Finds about half of Monarch's HP here. Into the stealth he goes. Exactly where you want to position yourself on this sniper. Pour out that burst damage at high enough rates. Look at this, YeezyPogChamp, they haven't really fought to maintain control of the point just yet. They backed themselves off. They realize they have enough time. This high ground fight needs to go in their favor, though. Right back onto the point goes Ratatouille. Somebody from Pickled Pepper suddenly needs to get themselves a touch. Overtime is on. Ratatouille looking for a target. He'll back himself away. Hook just wide, won't work out here. Half shell, you pointed it out, Krez. Doing some serious work here. Assert dominance, that one reaches the ground. Sin Cara, he'll find a kill immediately to trade on back out, though. Overtime expires. YeezyPogChamp, they don't want to force it. They'll back away for the time being.
Ratatouille on the hard flex from the Koga to the Term right now, but he's managing to maintain his charges. He's doing a pretty good job. It's a hard matchup into the Makoa, but he's playing his angles well, and Wadak apparently isn't. Didn't see Skeppy coming. He'll fall, and a time bomb might open things up.
Well, Strix, big difference maker when a guy like Skeppy is playing him. And right now, he's connecting just shy on a bit of damage there that might have finished off Ratatouille. Overtime, desperately trying to expire. Both teams, 99%. Pickled Pepper, the ones fighting back in, but Yaro Acosta finds a kill onto the off tank. Both teams on even standing here. Flashbang soars on through, catches out onto a couple of targets. Look at the positioning Skeppy's looking for here. Around the backside, hoping for a flank. Just needed a little bit of damage. Legacy finds an opening kill here. Look how fast the overtime is moving. Neither team can afford to step off this point, not even for a moment. Yaro Acosta now is one to pull one back on Pickled Pepper. The tug of war continues. It goes on. There's a knockback there. Mwadak eats a sniper shot from Skeppy. Now the dominoes look to be falling. Pickled Pepper starting to roll. Double kill from Emmett Payne. And nearly 4 minutes into this game, Pickled Pepper have finally done enough.
They bully him out. And Wonderful almost has a second assert dominance, by the way. I just wanted to take note of that this Ashe is almost on her second ultimate now that we finally finished this first cap. They always had Skeppy playing behind that half shell. There is literally no way for Yeezy to get in. They don't have any poke other than their support. They can maybe poke him a little bit with Vivian, but that doesn't really end up working out here as they try to make space, but constantly it's getting met by a half shell. A triple crush, but I don't know if they can even follow up.
What'll the time bomb do here? Near nothing. I mean, that looks pretty, but doesn't get you much if you're YeezyPogChamp. You do get a small positioning advantage. Now a kill onto Wonderful. So the setup, or the follow-up maybe, just a bit delayed from the initial setup, but this is where you can make some strides if you're YeezyPogChamp, especially Krez on a map like Ascension Peak. If you can kind of refight around that mid, force Pickled Pepper to do the full uphill swing in one go, it becomes very difficult to push.
Yeah, look at how willing they are to spend things on this aggressive zone. I mean, they're rezzing for it. They can keep it going, too, with that pick that they got on the Ashe. There's really not much they can do other than stand in this half shell, and they can't even do that. They have to leave.
Oh, it's a double crush this time. Pickled Pepper again able to disengage. Health bars middling for the red team right now. YeezyPogChamp, they're going to envelop Pickled Pepper here. Ratatouille around the backside. Yaro Acosta works right on in the front. This defense looking great so far for YeezyPogChamp. And I love the communication there from this team to kind of wrap around Pickled Pepper from both sides. Grab yourself some kills. It's really only Feel that has been showing up in the kill column for Pickled Pepper here as of late. With 53 seconds left, this maybe is the right call, Crazy. Get a couple of kills. Let's maybe take a deep breath before YeezyPogChamp let Pickled Pepper come to us because we have the advantage.
I don't think they have to be careful about making too much range between them and them because Skeppy obviously is the only one with real poke. He's the only one that's going to be able to kind of abuse the range that gets given to him here. But Peel for the hook on the crush. They have so many answers to this Makoa now, but they do still get some car in trade.
The Whirlwind gets used here with 20 seconds left on the defense. This would be point number 1, not only in the game, but in the set for YeezyPogChamp. So this would be strides from what we saw over in game number 1. It looks like that's the direction we're headed with 10 seconds left. Small rotation around the backside. Someone's mounted up. Looks like Wonderful could see an opportunity for this cart to get moving. It is now moving. I don't see anyone from YeezyPogChamp turning around and looking in that direction. Now they do finally realize somebody is back on the cart, so they'll turn around. Wonderful suddenly all on his own. And so overtime will start to work itself right back down. And YeezyPogChamp will make good on their defense and add their first point to the board.
Wonderful got deleted. That was some of the fastest I've seen a tank health bar go from full to 0 with no CC really attached to it. I think these point fights are going to continue to be super grindy. It's just the stalemate that's happening is Legacy's on one side. He's putting his half shell right. Skeppy's on the other side of him. Then they have a Terminus Sky. Even though the Makoa can hook through the Siphon, as soon as he connects that hook, they're going to shred him, I feel, with that Sky poison damage. As long as he can't actively put a shield down, it's going to be really hard for Legacy to keep himself up. But now that we're a little bit later, we have the Chronos 2 up for him. If they have to burn through that shield, he'll have... Now, depending on his build, if he's running Carapace 3 or 5, he'll have it up within a second. Right. So they have to be careful about when they burn it, if they can actually CC him. And actually, no Carapace, so they could burn his shield down. That's one of the weaknesses of this build. You burn it, he might be at 3 seconds of waiting, which could be more than enough time.
Wonderful lands with the Assert Dominance. The well awaits you, my friend. 2 kills for YeezyPogChamp on the board already. And Pickled Pepper do not have a leg to stand on. YeezyPogChamp now starting to catch back up. No fast cap for either team. 48% is where Pickled Pepper ended up building up to. This one was quick, though, just a bit overextended. Same first pick, though. It's Wonderful that falls first in this fight. Now Pickled Pepper have to find a way back in.
And they only have the Ancient Rage to do it. Flashbang notwithstanding, that's not really going to be your super aggressive, open the door kind of ability. But they already had Makoa touch the point. If they focus him, he will have that up. But there's a lot of people stacked on this side, and a Time Bomb can still split them. It forces them out, and there is that aggressive Flashbang, but looks like maybe that won't be what they needed here, as they still at least have the contest for now.
Legacy is just eating damage, forced to use the Ancient Rage. We'll pull back in Ratatouille. Skeppy positioning himself well behind these pillars, behind the statue, break those lines of sight. Emmett Payne continues his tear here, finds a kill on the right-hand side onto Mwadak. So suddenly YeezyPogChamp, they might have been feeling comfortable at 99%, but that 51% may pay off in dividends for Pickled Pepper if they can win this fight right here. Battle Shout will save Sin Cara and the shielding just for a little bit longer, but Emmett Payne will finally gun him down on the back line. Here comes Pickled Pepper deep into the back. Double kill for Emmett Payne. He's rooted in, but survives with 200 HP. Ratatouille tossed up and over. Has the reanimate. Do you need to use it now? I think you might. And he will. Right back onto the point. Pops up this Terminus, but he's all on his own. Power Siphon will buy a little bit of time, but there's the hook. Right back in. Legacy picks up the kill. Suddenly Pickled Pepper now in a commanding position. Law gets nobody. Mwadak now with one on the right-hand side. Emmett Payne's got to be the target here for YeezyPogChamp if they want a chance to kind of retake things here. Both teams positioning themselves behind this statue. This one might be destined for another long overtime.
Like I said, it just ends up being this stalemate, but they bought enough time for Ratatouille to get back. This Terminus is kind of what they needed. Wait, they left.
No!
No way!
They didn't get back in. Everyone backed off from Pickled Pepper, and YeezyPogChamp just stood there and said, thank you very much. The numbers were there for Pickled Pepper through and through, but the positioning, I suppose, was not. Maybe the health bars they felt a bit uncomfortable with. I'm not sure there, Krez, but Pickled Pepper gotta feel like one got away from them.
Yeah, it did. They didn't feel like it. It actually did. They ran off the point right at that last moment. I think that kind of started as a bad snowball with the law, the way that Emmett Payne went to use it. I think he wanted to slide before because you can slide and use the law at the same time, but you have to slide first. You can't use the law first. He wanted to break that Khan's shield. and he couldn't, and I think that made them play too slow. They got too low, and Legacy really couldn't stay on, but a Whirlwind to get aggressive, and they've already pulled Wonderful out of position.
Wow, YeezyPogChamp, you can tell they're feeling much more comfortable here in game number 2. Pickled Pepper on the defensive, have to throw out a couple of those ultimates. A minute and a half left, and this card is already underneath that first archway. This is where things will get difficult for YeezyPogChamp, that being said, but maybe not so, as Wonderful now goes down. Legacy will shell spin his way right back in on the base. Somebody's got to get out here, though. This cart is going to walk itself in here in just a moment. A time bomb will buy a little bit of time, a little bit of space, and point number 3, YeezyPogChamp rolling just the same as Pickled Pepper did in game 1.
Smart to use that time bomb there, I think. You charge it so foul. Here it is. Ran right off. No one there. Was anyone even trying? I think Legacy just thought he could get back on, I guess. He went off right at the end. Maybe the burst damage tried to kill the term, but you got to think about it. If you're running any level of Surf, you're going to go just a little bit further than you think. Really quick, this shielding stat, I think, is really important to look at how low the shielding is for Legacy. That's important to say that Yeezy aren't shooting it at all. They're not giving him any cooldown, which is all about what his build is. This is kind of the potential downside of Makoa. If you're playing against a team that knows how to deal with half shell, yes, you buy space because they're not going to contest you when it's up, but you have to make sure that space wins you the fight, or you're going to be a kind of a crippled character for the rest of the time that it's up.
What a different picture this game could have been if Pickled Pepper were able to capitalize on that previous mid-fight. They had that fight semi-won, too. That cart could have been going in the other direction quickly had Pickled Pepper converted. Now they have fast cap, so they're already up to 31%. Legacy getting decimated this game. Wonderful. 1-11, by the way, going into this mid-fight. Tough game to be an Ash if you're fighting into what YeezyPogChamp have built here. Another long, drawn-out fight seems to be destined here. Legacy stunned down. He'll shell spin away. That opens up the door for YeezyPogChamp. Start building up some percentage here. You're going to need Emmett Payne to go big. You need Skeppy to find some of these shots, but unfortunately it's Mwadak for the moment that finds the opening kill. YeezyPogChamp now can start to storm these gates. Look at how Pickled Pepper starting to fall. 63% and climbing for YeezyPogChamp.
And they hook so he can't use the ancient rage. He locked himself in. That's so brutal. And I think so. I think maybe Wonderful can touch, but I think he's still respawning.
That's got to just be game here, Krez. YeezyPogChamp return to sender. In game number 2, they go 4-1 on Ascension Peak, and suddenly we're all tied up.
Yeah, Mwadak's flanking, actually killing that Strix, really made that go out of control for them. They had no one watching the fountain side of the map. Everyone was standing behind the statue, staring at the point, just waiting for something to happen, going, all right, we'll get a hook. Well, once we get a hook, this is all in our control. And then Vivian flanks. They weren't paying attention.
Right.
Having the Sky speed and the Sky healing to rush in just overwhelmed Pickled Pepper. They weren't ready.
I think, Krez, not only is it important that YeezyPogChamp won this game, it's important they won it in the way that they did. I mean, it's one thing if you kind of grind out a big 7-point win. You're still in the win column. But the fact that you now probably have a renewed sense of confidence that you can take it to this Pickled Pepper team, I think is going to work wonders for this team and their confidence moving forward. That's game 2 in the books. We'll go back to Aggro to break it down.
How about that? YeezyPogChamp bounce back and find a victory here on Ascension Peak. And Gore, look, the first point, they get it to 99%, and then Pickled Pepper come back, and it's like, oh, okay, good try, YeezyPogChamp. And then point 2, the same thing happens, 99 overtime, but then they win it. It's like, oh, all right, that's 2 points, and then they convert, and wow, okay, they're on match point now, and all of a sudden they win the next point fight as well, and we're talking about a 1-1 series now between these two teams. What enabled YeezyPogChamp to make such a big victory?
As much like Kresnik was saying at the very end there, right? That Sky, it facilitated so much. I anticipated a longer game, and normally the longer it goes, the worse off Sky is going to be. But if you can find yourself in a position like this, she's going to look good in the process. The healing that comes through, the speed, and still, it's this weird balance between I'm healing and maybe pocketing one of the tanks, but also following up with a ton of damage that you can't really do much about. I think Ratatouille was almost completely covered throughout all of that. And like you said, even though that first point ends up going the way of Pickled Pepper, that defense that comes through from YeezyPogChamp is maybe the most indicative, because it is, crushing. It is backbreaking. Yeah. It is right outside inside your base for a minute long. They use Reanimate on it, and they don't get punished for it. That kind of aggression can only then herald a conversion, right? And a very fast one at that the next round. And it showcases why they've been playing this. They had a strategy in mind when they came through to pick it up. If you're going to have a Sky that goes 11-4-8, then yeah, absolutely, lock it in. Wonderful just wasn't able to get his legs on the ground or his heels under him, even though Field goes once again undying, which is pretty impressive all in all considering how many kills there were on the other side. I think it just goes to show that your front line wasn't able to withstand the damage that was coming out on the side of YeezyPogChamp.
I mean, what a scoreline there for Yato, but wonderful. I mean, 1-12. We saw him lead his team in deaths in game 1, but it was in a win, so not a big deal. But 12 deaths seems like an outlier number to me, Gormizer. We don't often see that in a game that was fairly close through a lot of these point matches. Wonderful was getting in there, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, he got a lot of damage done. He got a lot of damage taken, and there's a lot of healing there for Field to be able to put out. And so, like you said, getting in there, just maybe not making all the strides you wanted. There were a lot of moments where Assert Dominances really seemed like they were going to be crucial and key to keeping the team alive, and then there was just good reactions on the other side. I think that con pickup really ends up hurting the Ashe in a way. It's one of the few counters that Ashe has, specifically in the Assert Dominance, but just in general. So well played, I think, from YeezyPogChamp to pull it back, and much like Dave said, in the way they did. A 4-1 win is way better for them there than a 4-3.
Splitstone Quarry is where they're going to have to try and keep their momentum going, as now I imagine this would be Pickled Pepper's map selection in order to go to here. I don't know how YeezyPogChamp can keep it up, but this would be, I think, this has got to be the most crucial game for them. Got to make sure that you keep this momentum going and really put Pickled Pepper behind the 8 ball.
Now, this is a map, because it's loser's pick, this means Pickled Pepper are going to go here. I'm a little more worried knowing when they're like in the driver's seat. It just kind of drives me, again, back towards Jag Falls, but also because Splitstone Quarry feels like it fits their composition and the style they like to play a little bit better. I think this is a map that you can run Buck on, which is something I think both of these teams would maybe have a little bit higher priority for, but snipers are very solid here, both Kinessa and Strix, although Strix is definitely the favor for Pickled Pepper, and both of the tanks that they've been running, this Makoa, this Ashe, are really, really solid on Splitstone Quarry. I wouldn't be surprised to see them push them to the forefront as well.
Genos and Rom, pretty typical ban here for Pickled Pepper. I believe that was exactly what they banned on Jag Falls, is YeezyPogChamp actually go double frontline with Torvald and Terminus, and that leaves this IO open. Now, we saw Field go undying on the Corvus last game, but it was in a loss. Now, with this Makoa first pick, very reminiscent of Jaguar Falls already in this draft for Pickled Pepper. It might be on YeezyPogChamp to go with that IO pretty early, but instead they're going to top 2 the Sky that was so pivotal in that last map.
Sky Grover can still work really well here. Vivian, I'm a little more on uneven ground with, just because of the fact that I think she needs to be more in the fight than some of your others. But again, so far, this is screaming a Bleachers comp to me. Like, this is something that I go Sky, Vivian, I grab Grover, I'd grab a Nara Bomb King, and that would be my full lineup. A lot of these teams, specifically out of these two, don't typically go towards the Bomb King, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's replaced with a different DPS. But then you control one portion of the map so well that it's just difficult for Pickled Pepper to do anything about it. But as you had highlighted, IO is available, IO is going to come through. And look, I'm just going to say it, in every Worlds game that I have seen her in, including today, but also going back, she's won every single one of them. So there is a lot of stress, I think, comes through because it's so difficult to deal with her and Luna, choosing one or the other, plus the Ashe and the Makoa. It's exactly the same 3 they picked at the beginning of Jag Falls, and we're going to see it work very similarly.
Oh, a Tyra pickup here, though, by Pickled Pepper. And normally, when we've seen Tyra in the past, it's because they've got something like Maldamba Inara that's just going to sit on the point and stand there, and Tyra's very good at counteracting that. I don't see that here for YeezyPogChamp. I mean, sure, Khan is going to spend a lot of time on the point, but not necessarily planted like someone like Inara would be, as now Lex comes through to finish out the draft for Pickled Pepper.
I was losing it because I was trying to figure out why Tyra. Because like you said, there's so much that comes through, and it's the reveal. Sky is going to, she's good against Makoa, she's good against Ashe. I think she can deal with the IO pretty well as well. but not if she's seen everywhere she goes. I think that Tyra is going to come through and reveal a lot. She's still going to lack a little bit of the same punch that you're going to see out of the Vivian, the Andro on the other side, but they love Lex on this squad. Pickled Pepper have gone for the Tyra. I think she is going to be able to make a big enough difference here that it will trend in their favor. Also, I mean, look, it comes down to it. This is maybe not the best way to look at it, but I see 2 tanks plus an IO versus a single con trying to control an objective. Pickled Pepper should be able to hold on to the objective just a lot better based on that.
They need to after their last performance. Pickled Pepper looking to get back in the win column here in game number 3.
Pickled Pepper returning to a lot of what worked for them in game number 1. Still sticking with the Ashe. Still have the Lex on their side. Makoa Io rejoin the fray as well. And Krez, do you share maybe some similar concerns about the YeezyPogChamp draft in that they still have the Sky, and obviously that worked out wonders for them in game 2? You don't have the Grover this time. You only have the Khan as your tank. No Terminus to play behind. Do you think that this is a worse look at a composition for YeezyPogChamp?
I think it stays about net neutral because of the little bit of a give and take here. Yeezy having that verticality, I think, is so key for this map. I think gaining the Androxus on a map where you need to be above them, you need to be shooting down when Pickled Pepper lack that entirely. I think that's a huge boon, but now Pickled Pepper have the Tyra to fall back on. The reveal on the Sky means that stealth is nowhere near as effective, and you know Skeppy's going to be holding on to that mark until Ratatouille shows himself basically every single time. And even though Pickled Pepper now they have control of this inside, again, there's no real way for them to stop Yato from doing exactly this. Now he's above, and with that hook being missed, they have to watch from a lot of different angles.
That's right, this Androxus is going to be a key player for YeezyPogChamp. Follow along with how that goes throughout this game. Pickled Pepper can't leave the fidget spinner side just yet, looking for a route right back onto that point where they've already found 48% building up, but now YeezyPogChamp have a bit better positioning. Sin Cara begs to differ, however. Feel will find first blood. The IO on the board first. Now Pickled Pepper, numbers advantage on their side. Start to build up that 75% advantage on the point. Skeppy gets another onto Mwadak. Things looking dire in this mid-fight for YeezyPogChamp, and I think we've got point number 1 already.
Yeah, they have that totally under control, and having Luna on the point means they don't have to leave to do anything. They don't have to risk peeking Yato up top, which I guess their one weakness kind of gets mitigated a little bit by this IO until those dozers come up here. They have solid control on this cart, but again, not having verticality is going to make this part brutal. We always talk about how this is one of the hardest chokes in the game to push through, and there's no way to break through unless YeezyPogChamp leave one area open, right? They have to make a mistake, I think, to let them in, and getting booped might be that mistake.
Now some ultimates starting to swing as well for Pickled Pepper. Wonderful survives, but the Accursed Arm will remedy that issue for YeezyPogChamp, so Pickled Pepper for a moment maybe felt like they had a chance on in, and they still do, but Yato Acosta, a nice double from the Androxus, will start to farm up some damage, and YeezyPogChamp will look to capitalize. Emmett Payne stays alive here, dancing back and forth in and out of lines of sight so well, and now YeezyPogChamp may be feeling a bit overextended. Legacy does end up dying, but this is what you expect, Chris, I think, on this defense here on Splitstone Quarry. I mean, if you get kind of pushed back from that high ground, that's when things really become difficult, but maybe Wonderful, maybe an Assert Dominance can dislodge this YeezyPogChamp defense just enough.
And they could use it. Ash charges it fast enough. It looks like Wonderful was thinking about it, but just holding onto it for now, I guess. But actually, whoa, he's getting in behind completely unseen, and now he's on them, and they're spinning ults just to make sure they don't get stunned.
Watch out, he does not have shoulder bash, but does have the ability to go up, down once he gets in to this small space here. Up, down he goes. Double stun on the Assert Dominance. And here comes Pickled Pepper. They storm the gates. 2 kills in tow, but 1 gets traded out by who else but Yato Acosta here in this game. Into the shielding. Half shell. Working wonders now, but a bit of a flip fight here as YeezyPogChamp managed to keep enough numbers in the fray to stay alive. A hook from Legacy off the high ground will just be more of a nuisance than anything else. Krez, that looked great for a moment for Pickled Pepper, but YeezyPogChamp able to survive.
Their spawns are a little bit faster. Trading on defense is just so good. And Sin Cara, he'll clean up everything there. Even though they spent that time bomb for this defense, look where Ratatouille, he's already at 45% when you combine the healing from Smoke and Dagger, when you combine the percentage damage that he's doing to some of these tanks. He's charging that ultimate so fast. He's got double, basically, ways to get it. And even though now they're behind, someone has to watch behind. Look at Wonderful keeps getting in for free, and no one on Yeezy is rotated yet to watch the back door.
And this is what might give Pickled Pepper the chance here. Unfortunately, enough shred damage from this Sky will put Wonderful in an uncomfortable spot. Ratatouille sustains himself back up and alive. Overtime on. Sin Cara down. Cart continuing to move forward. As difficult as it is to push on Splitstone, you can definitely get it done from this distance if you put together a consistent enough fight. And Pickled Pepper, definitely a team that's able to do so. Wonderful has not been full health since he's walked around to this corner. But look at the flip that's happening here. YeezyPogChamp a bit caught on the back foot here as the cart continues to work its way in.
And they get a hook too, actually pulling down the Sky, but the invisibility, look at that, it's just enough. He doesn't need to shoot, he's just gonna hold, and the law goes wide too.
And now it's really on Wonderful to stay in this fight, unable to do so. Maybe a Be Gone helps you out here over onto Sin Cara. Overtime is in. Emmett Payne now has to just get it done the old-fashioned way with good old damage, but doesn't have the health, I don't think, to get over the finish line here. Slides to the side, but look at the shielding. Sin Cara will stay in it. And YeezyPogChamp survive. 1-1 on the scoreboard. Be Gone spent. Crossfire is as well. YeezyPogChamp a bit healthier in that ultimate department.
Yeah, I liked watching that little end game fight there, because it kind of gave us an example of why Leon's shield is being run here in North America. Just the fact is, of these kind of really clutch fights when things come down to the wire, when it's not a lot of people left, the shielding can outpace pretty effectively someone else's damage, whether it be just one Lex, whether it be just, if it's just a Makoa, he's not going to break through, so he'll be able to sustain for quite a while, and Yeezy were able to hold on to a lot of ults as well. You mentioned it too, but the Be Gone, the Law, and Crossfire all spent by Pickled Pepper. They have some very impactful ultimates left, but they have to run them into an Ancient Rage, they have to run them into an Accursed Arm that they can't really counter, and there's going to be a Time Bomb to split them basically whenever they want.
And Sin Cara will have this overpower, especially if he's playing on this side of the map for an insta-gib. To give Pickled Pepper an early, or YeezyPogChamp rather, an early advantage, but he's not going to get the chance. Look at how aggressive Wonderful is, an immediate dive into the backline. That pays off in wonders for Pickled Pepper. 2 down, Ratatouille, Sin Cara, they both fall. The disengage enough from Yato Acosta this time, but look at where the point is at, 75%. Somebody from YeezyPogChamp will have to dash their way in. Does Sin Cara have the legs to get there in time? It's 90%. Now it's the Androxus that goes in. Overtime not touched. YeezyPogChamp had almost no chance to use anything there. Here's the overpower, but you've already lost the mid.
I mean, yeah, they used a bunch, but just a little bit too late. I didn't like the Time Bomb, really. I mean, they threw it after the Ashe had already ulted in just to split them, and they ended up dying for it. I would almost have liked to see them kind of push it back further there. I also think they were holding a little too close. Yeezy knew they were going to be engaging fast, but Sin Cara just so close to the door that Wonderful went over his head and stunned him from behind. He's on a controller. He can't turn fast enough to track when they're able to go past him like that, so he can't stop that stun, but good adaptation. They're finally watching the back door. Pickled Pepper have to back off.
Wonderful, a bit on an island on his own here. Finally, it seems like we've got a game that's kind of destined towards those later stages. I say that. Pickled Pepper, still a minute and a half to roll this cart on in. And a lot of what we figured would come to fruition in this game certainly has, Kresnik. I mean, I think this Androxus has provided just enough mobility that Pickled Pepper hasn't been able to match, that's made things just so difficult. Wonderful, sometimes not doing himself any favors, depending on how he wants to position himself. But now the rest of Pickled Pepper will join him. Poor Ratatouille, no chance to survive there. Shielding eats one of the shots from the Accursed Arm. Yato Acosta nearly massive damage into the back. Pickled Pepper surviving this time. The unfortunate miss on the hook there will prevent the fadeaway shot. But Pickled Pepper still finding a couple of kills, and they've got a lot more time to get this one in.
Yeah, Yeezy can now settle back here and rely a little bit on their Vivian for poke, but no team really has any poke at all. None of them really have good distance poke. It's honestly just the Antro, I guess, that's going to be doing kind of respectable damage at range, but I like how Yeezy are positioned here. I like how they're kind of surrounding them on the way in and forcing them to take some different angles. We have Wadak in a great spot. If he thinks the hook's going to come in, he has a shield to protect himself too, so definitely a harder wall for Pickled Pepper to come through. I think it's going to come down to what they're willing to spend here, right? If they want to go in and assert dominance, lose it for the mid, but maybe you get a chance to seal this off and go 3-1.
You hear a Time Bomb ringing in the back. That won't be good enough for a kill, but here's a flank from Wadak. Yato Acosta, early kill here. Ratatouille with another. And with all of these kills starting to swing on in, YeezyPogChamp destined for their second point on the board. This time, though, Pickled Pepper, I mean, they won that last mid-fight with a lot of those ultimates off the board. Now they've got a couple extra in the Law and that Crossfire, so you got to be feeling good about your chances if YeezyPogChamp don't change anything up.
Depends on how aggressive Yeezy can get onto Feel. I haven't really seen where Feel has been playing these, but if they can get onto him, he doesn't have the Be Gone to live now that he spent it for that final push. If they can get on him, right, burn him down, get rid of the Luna capping, now they have to walk out to the point, which means they have to walk into Mwadak, or they have to walk into Ratatouille, whoever ends up kind of watching that area. I think that's the plan here, and that's also just how you exploit Io in general. She does not handle dives well. She has to play next to a backline. Skeppy will be close, but get rid of Io, you effectively kill 2 players, because Luna will fall too.
That's right. Feel is going to be playing safe to try to prevent a lot of that. Luna plus Half Shell is going to be quite annoying to deal with as well. Yato Acosta, good eyes by Doug there. In around to the back of Pickled Pepper, a cursed arm just 1 or 2 shots away. I'm sure he would have loved to have had it there in that moment. A hook swings on through elsewhere. Nothing from it just yet. Watch out for the overpower. Gets charged up here in this moment. Legacy down, so is Mwadak though. Yato Acosta finds the final shots. Crossfire. There won't be enough. The punch just to the side. It's a double kill. Looking for 3. It's Yato Acosta. He sure got it. YeezyPogChamp. Big fight all of a sudden. Pickled Pepper. They have lost effectively everyone. Wonderful here. Is just going to get staggered out from the rest of his team. What a fight from the YPC squad.
And Yato can just sit up top there literally forever. There is nothing Pickled Pepper can do to deal with him as long as Yeezy have people outside. So he chooses his fight whenever he wants. He finally wins the duel against him at Pain and then can just chase as hard as he needs to here. Yeezy, now that they have map control and they almost have Time Bomb as well, it's not like Legacy's going to be able to touch. That Time Bomb's going to pierce his shield. They actually don't get it in time, and he managed to get there with Luna as well.
Well, now you're just going to have to get it done the old-fashioned way if you're both teams here. Effectively every ultimate about halfway there except for the Law. So Emmett Payne maybe a chance to get something done here, and the Time Bomb, of course, as you had pointed out. Ratatouille will end up getting a kill there. I think that one, either the Time Bomb or just some damage, got it done on Emmett Payne. Either way, there's no Lex throughout the rest of this fight. 99% for YeezyPogChamp. No health bars for Pickled Pepper, it seems, to get themselves over the finish line here. YeezyPogChamp, they'll convert. They'll go up 3-2, and now they have a chance to go up 2-1 in this set with a push.
Brutal there near the end with Ratatouille on the point. I mean, we saw Legacy just trying to do something, but I mean, how long has Makoa existed where Sky has been kind of a pseudo counter? I remember it being kind of a pocket strat back on SSG when I was coaching for them. We would pull it out on some maps. This was a great map for it in particular because of all the corners, all the times you kind of get forced into close range situations where Makoa can't really handle it as effectively. And already halfway up, already past the first big choke, and Wonderful's kind of isolated. They can honestly go for this kill if they want to, and they might.
Watch out for the accursed arm here. Yato Acosta got 3 on the mid. A chance to find more here, but hyper-focus on the Luna means that Pickled Pepper now on defense will be able to convert for some big kills. 1 minute and 40 seconds left. It seems in those chaotic fights is where Pickled Pepper, as a group, can kind of start to make some headwinds. And now you have to look at YeezyPogChamp and their chances to work through this first major choke point against an organized Pickled Pepper.
Yeah, this is definitely the spot you don't want to be breaking through, but they do have at least some way to get up top, right? They could have Andro take some ground, and this is interesting. I like seeing the breach used this way, and they find Feel off it.
That's right, the healer now down for Pickled Pepper. Legacy soon to follow, so does Wonderful, so does Skeppy. Now Emmett Payne running for his life, and it won't work out, and everyone's still alive for YeezyPogChamp. It would have been something if Pickled Pepper had gotten anyone in that fight, but nobody from YeezyPogChamp has to work their way back. Cart getting ever so close. A Be Gone might have to get used here by Pickled Pepper to keep this cart where it's at, but there are 45 seconds left. This is going to be difficult for Pickled Pepper to keep where it's at. Or a little bit further away, an overpower, a Time Bomb just to create some space. Might be all you need. Time Bomb into the back. Assert dominance, up, down, perfect from Wonderful there. But he stays within his ultimate, keeps his team in this fight a little bit longer. Sliding onto the back is now Emmett Payne. 30 seconds left. Cart's still close. Couple big ultimates get used, but look at Pickled Pepper. They're feeling much more comfortable about the ultimates in their corner. But here we go. Now it's Sin Cara pulling in Emmett Payne. Kill number 1 on the board. Hook back through, but it's a con. He's just going to battle shout. Stun from Luna. Not enough. Ancient Rage will swing on in. 8 seconds left. YeezyPogChamp still fully reinforced to your feel in on the back. Pickled Pepper have maybe done enough, but Skeppy goes down. Will Wonderful stay alive? For the time being, yes, and he'll receive some healing. This one will certainly come down to the wire. Another kill on to Legacy, into the back. Go Pickled Pepper in Tropic Breach to buy some space. YeezyPogChamp, are they going to get it done here? It looks like they might. They go up 2-1 in this set. Pickled Pepper, they're the ones who are down. They're the ones who got to fight back in. That's nuts.
Which is crazy for me to see. I think they just used their tank ults a little bit too early. I don't know if I loved how they did it. I mean, what? Legacy used it in a choke in front of a shielding Leon's shield Khan? What's he gonna do? He's just swinging at him, whacking the shield, honestly just testing the crash resistance of the Khan shield. That's all he's doing. Otherwise, at the end, they have nothing to really delay when it matters. They just let them sit inside there and get set up to cap.
This has been a close set a couple of the times these two teams have played, but it's YeezyPogChamp who are on set point. Pickled Pepper in the losers bracket? I don't know, man. We're going to have to see if YeezyPogChamp can get over the finish line here in this one. I'm going to let this dog out. We're going to take a quick break and see you in a sec.
Well, we're only in the very first set of the Paladins World Championship, and already things are going more differently than we expected. The number one seed, a 14-1 team in Pickled Pepper, is now on the brink of going down in the loser's bracket. Gormizer, YeezyPogChamp do it on Splitstone Quarry. An incredible comeback because early on it looked like Pickled Pepper was back to form.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing that really started this off. 2 mid-fights in a row looked like it was just oppressive. And yeah, YeezyPogChamp fine defenses, but we talk about this all the time on Ice Mines, I think Ascension Peak, as well as Splitstone, where it's just like, cool, you find a defense on a map that has a push oriented around defense. It's not that big a deal. That's fine. And then that third fight comes through, and I want to give a lot of credit to Yato Acosta specifically that comes through on this Andro, a triple kill during that mid. And it's not necessarily the thing that wins them the mid fight, but it certainly stops Pickled Pepper from winning that mid fight. And it's right here where he was able to get that, a good accursed arm just to make sure that they convert that back in their favor. They get up into the 50s off of just that triple kill in terms of percentage, and then they maintain their hold on it again, showcasing their defensive prowess, except that time around the midpoint as opposed to having to do it around their own base.
impressive stuff from this team. And then at the very end here, a great synergized push together. Ball and Barry make sure they seal it there with another ultimate onto Wonderful, who once again hits double digits in the death column. 2 and 10 for him. How about 14 and 4 being shared by Yato Acosta and Ratatouille on the Andro and on the Sky? And it's getting to the point, Gormizer, where I think this Sky is a banned candidate if you're Pickled Pepper. This has been two maps in a row now where this Sky has been the difference maker for YeezyPogChamp.
Absolutely. I think she's someone that has to jump up there. I'm seeing a lot of ROM bans, a couple of tank bans that come up there. Torvald makes sense, but I think you are going to have to replace one of those with the Sky. She's performing too well. I mean, look at it. I've been talking all day, and I've been talking about it ever since she really came back into it when she was uncompetitively banned, about how IO's had a 100% win rate in the World Championship last year. That's finally been ended here, and it would be a weird alternate universe if Sky came through and was the one that has the 100% win rate. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the adaptation that Pickled Pepper need to make here, which is to ban the Sky and deal with it. Because if they're going to top pick it, then it's something that you have to be worried about.
I agree. I think you've got to make an adjustment there. And clearly the Tyra, which you said was really there as the Sky counter pick, did not do quite enough for Skeppy.
No.
As we head to Shattered Desert, this is one that, again, you feel like we should be looking at Pickled Pepper. This is 2 map picks in a row now for them. Remember, they just picked Splitstone Quarry and held an L on that map. Now they've got to try and make sure that doesn't happen to them here on the Shattered Desert, because otherwise your number 1 seed is going down into the loser's bracket right off the bat.
And like to put that in even heavier perspective, all 3 sets that Pickled Pepper played against YeezyPogChamp, they won in Phase 2. They lost 11 maps, total 11 games throughout Phase 2. And it's the idea that, 3 of those, so you take it down, were their set loss, right? That one that they have in that column. Every other one of those 8 losses they have are to the other teams that were not snapping at the time, right? And that's insane to think that now we're looking at them in this position, down. They've never been down against YeezyPogChamp. In fact, I don't know that they've been down all year. So this is an interesting position, and they have made that adaptation to get rid of the Sky. And this is the map, Shattered Desert. I like to joke about Jag Falls being kind of like the Wild Wild West. Anything can run there. But it's really the Wild West for flanks. You can take any flank there and make them look pretty good. This map is the true Wild West, where literally any composition, as long as you're confident in the way you play it, and you can tackle any sort of fight in this one and change things up for yourself. So I wouldn't be surprised if some interesting picks come through for Pickled Pepper.
Well, already ROM is open, and that's where I'm going to be looking. We see the heavy support ban from Genos and from IO. Torvald taken off the table, but Pickled Pepper stick with Makoa, number 1 overall. They've loved this pick. This is the 4th game in a row that they're going to be playing it, and the 3rd time that it's their top pick.
And the, 4th time, like you said, that it's played out of the 3 wins, or 3 games so far, he's only won that first one. So maybe not necessarily the best batting record so far against YeezyPogChamp. That first game looked so stellar for it, though, that it is the showcase, I think, that is the dynamic that is Makoa right now. The reason I'm always confused, some teams in Europe have been doing this as well. I'm thinking of Clown Fiesta. But the first pick, he's just so hot or cold that it seems a little weird to me to prioritize him so heavily in a world where ROM, Corvus, Genos, IO, all these other carries and picks are available. But right now, Pickled Pepper, if they're feeling confident with it, then it's something that you go back to. Plus, you want to roll back, in time, in history. Legacy is one of those players. I think he was like 39-0 at one point playing this Makoa. It was on a Stone Keep game, and it was in a summer finals for the console league. But it still counts as a 39-0, and he looked good doing it. So, that history exists. I'm just hoping that it looks a little better this time.
This time we're going to see Lex once again, but for the first time it will not be on Pickled Pepper's side, YeezyPogChamp side, to take this Lex for themselves, and they go back to the Grover, which is 1-0 so far in these Paladins World Championships. That was played map 2 by this YPC team. But Corvus is the one support that has been dominant, or so far that has been top tier, that is able to come through as, wow, Tyra once again here for Pickled Pepper. They're kind of throwing me for a loop with some of these selections here, Gore. We thought the Tyra was there for just specifically to counteract the Sky, but no Sky on the other side. We still see the Tyra.
Well, now I think it's more to help counter the ROM, right? A nice cripple field to make sure he can't get his dash going. Very oppressive, big knockup that can control it. And finally we get to see Inara. I was wondering how long it was going to be before we got to see her. And this is something I think that helps save Pickled Pepper. I'll be honest, Makoa, like Corvus is going to be very solid, but Makoa Vivian on this map can be very polarizing. Both can perform exceedingly well, both can perform pretty poorly at the same time, and I like what YeezyPogChamp have. I think the Rom-Con, Lex, Grover, Victor, on this map, on pretty much any map, that's going to be a composition that can win you a game, and that is a composition that is going to be very consistent. Pickled Pepper are playing a little bit with fire, almost quite literally, since Tyra is going to be in there. That Firebomb is going to be very essential for them to find a win. Being able to control this ROM is necessary for them. Otherwise, they are going to get knocked down to the lower bracket. I mean, they are betting a lot on this Tyra. She is the one wild card here, and as much as I think Inara can withstand the onslaught from these two front lines, if this Tyra does not get her performance under wraps fast, then it's all going to fall apart.
Unbelievable that we're here already for Pickled Pepper, a team that we expected to really make a pretty clean run to the finals, and I want to give a lot of credit to YeezyPogChamp, regardless of what happens in the rest of this set. They have really showed up here in set number 1, showing us what it means to try and rise up and be a Paladins world champion. Let's see if they can complete their task and knock Pickled Pepper down into the lower bracket.
Yeah, do not rub your eyes or question what I'm about to say, but it is Pickled Pepper who need to turn things around here in game number 4 on Shattered Desert. YeezyPogChamp, 1 win away. A win here on Shattered Desert would put Pickled Pepper, your number 1 seed in North America, down to the loser's bracket. Krez, maybe the answer for Wonderful on the struggles that he's had in these last couple of games. It was, what, 1-12 into a 2-10 game, and he's, what, 3-20-something over the last 2 games combined? Maybe it's Inara. Maybe Inara gives Wonderful a little extra survivability.
I just don't know if this is the map for it. I mean, if there's any map you wanted to play Ash, this was probably it. But they'll be living on the point. He might be able to trade out into this con if that is the matchup he has. But they're actually playing this Leon Shield in an off lane right now, kind of onto the side, and they're giving Wonderful free cap for now. But they can't really push into these double backline DPSs, especially with the hook waiting for them.
That's a lot of what we've been missing was the hook and immediate follow-up from Pickled Pepper. This time it's good for first blood. So YeezyPogChamp lose an early death. Wonderful still low, though. If there's enough concentrated damage onto this Inara, then likely YeezyPogChamp able to stabilize. But instead, now Rom is going to have to tumble his way away. So Pickled Pepper looking fantastic to start off this map here. Stalled out at 69%. They're going to back themselves off, though, Krez. Maybe not sensing that they're exactly where they want to be. And YeezyPogChamp now will be the ones to move forward.
I think smart to resettle back up and then get ready to recommit, because then they could do that together, right? Push in when that hook's available, and now looks Inkaris kind of forced back because he can't peek in the way of that. Skeppy manages to push around the side and catch his own to start.
It's looking fantastic again for Pickled Pepper. It's going to be some ultimates just to ice the cake, it looks like here. YeezyPogChamp crumbling. I'm not sure there's been a single red kill on the board up to this point, and we're going to go to overtime. Also, a quick pause here before we see how this one turns out. But kind of where we stand, Krez, I mean, the respawns, a couple dead, 2 or 3 still down for YeezyPogChamp. I mean, this is looking through and through like 0.1 for Pickled Pepper.
Yeah, especially because the crossfire was one of the big initiators there for Pickled Pepper, leading in with that into a Leon Shield con. He can't really last through that. Con's Leon Shield, it's good for like 1v1s. It's good for when, you know, you can kind of take someone out of the fight trying to kill you. When you get solo ulted, no. It's not going to work out in that way, so he should be overwhelmed pretty much. It's already 99, but pushing from here, though, I think is going to be the big worry, because Pickled Pepper have a great passive composition. I mean, they have 2 backline assault rifle characters that need to get walked at, but actually going in and taking that ground is where things are going to get difficult, because Victor and Grover, that's a decent amount of poke damage to work through.
Yeah, this is where YeezyPogChamp are really going to make their money, it seems, on this map. Pickled Pepper able to convert as we come out of that pause here. Cart itself rolling on in. It's always interesting, I think, on Shattered Desert specifically to watch how teams strategize around these pushes. I mean, obviously the cart has to follow its track through the inside bend here. But there's all those openings that can be worked through But neither team, outside of maybe Alex, looks like it wants to kind of do these long individual flanks on its own. Look at the Juggernaut from Rom rumbling on into the backline of Pickled Pepper. A barrage there for some follow-up. Lots of ultimates combined. A couple kills now on the board is Wonderful and Emmett Payne will go down, and Legacy will make 3. So Pickled Pepper choose to waltz everyone in to that choke point there, and YeezyPogChamp will thank him for it.
They'll be able to take a good amount of ground from that. I think that was a great Juggernaut, the fact that they went to actually chase him near the end. The knockup didn't necessarily pay off in the way that they did, but forcing the Tyra to make that long rotation shows where their priorities lie. They want to kill this Rom. They pretty much have to here, but maybe an overstep as Seismic Crash. They just delete Sin Cara.
And that's a good start, or a good turnaround maybe for Pickled Peppers. They're going to move right back on in here. A couple ultimates now starting to come back off of cooldown. Skeppy with another kill here. Some damage lobbing itself in. Grenade from the back line and a hook onto Ratatouille, who won't be able to move anywhere. 58 seconds left, but the cart's moving in. YeezyPogChamp will have the respawns, but Pickled Pepper have the momentum here in this case. Look out for a hook. Look out for an Ancient Rage. Maybe a crossfire. Things looking dangerous on this offensive push.
Yeah, with this half shell set up here too, this is what I was talking about when I said you can't burn it, but so you have to put it in a place that is very impactful. That's a spot, right on the corner. Let them do a little bit of the damage here, but holding on, they have to use a barrage just to get him inside the shield, and they end up giving him the cooldown back too.
Legacy, is he gonna live here? He sure is. Unless Ratatouille can finalize the kill, he won't, and Legacy turns around the damage. You gotta be kidding me. Pickled Pepper, they get away with one there. Dire Straits suddenly on the defense for YeezyPogChamp. Everyone from Pickled Pepper piling on in. It's a battle shout. That'll keep Sin Cara alive just for the time being, but not long enough. Cart goes in. Pickled Pepper go up 2-0.
The half shells are so impactful right now to force some damage there. The difference between this map and Ascension Peak, that's really what it is. They're putting the shields in places that they can't really deal with. Put it on the corner, let the backlines get there. If they want to get into the shield to fight the Makoa, now they're okay. Now you're point blank with the Tyra. Now you're point blank with the Vivian, and both of them are doing fantastic in the damage department. Starting with that Wrecker too makes life a lot harder for Sin Cara. The Leon Shield Con picked so early, maybe struggling a little bit. He is out shielding the Makoa, but because he has a shield you want to shoot as opposed to the other way around. And Pickled Pepper, they held on to everything there, every ultimate for them effectively. Seismic Crash will be there soon enough. They can choose to initiate this however they want, but most of their ults are reactive, so I think they still have to wait for Yeezy.
Yeah, that's a good point there, Chris. It's not maybe a team that wants to immediately walk in and swing first. YeezyPogChamp, they're going to have to find an answer now to this Inara. Wonderful has had a tough last couple of games, but the Inara looking a lot better just as far as getting point capture as well. Already a third of the way there. Might look like that bar isn't all the way filled up or anywhere close to it, but it's going to help out if you can start to win some of these fights. Sin Cara with the overpower, that's going to be good for a kill onto Legacy. How do Pickled Pepper respond, though? Well, a kill is not the answer just yet. Wonderful starting to get taken low. Now it's YeezyPogChamp starting to overwhelm the numbers of Pickled Pepper. The 3 remaining members who walk back into that choke point, and YeezyPogChamp with fast cap will start to build up some percentage.
Yeah, going to be tough for them to break back in, I think. But they have actually, well, they have Ancient Rage. They could just spin and get that here, but look at all that damage on Legacy early. He gets it kind of forced out, but at the very least, they'll get overtime.
Yato Acosta deletes Legacy with the law there. A stun on the backside. That's the Seismic Crash, but there's no follow-up just yet from Pickled Pepper. Skeppy, you've got the damage to win that trade. Of course he's going to take it. Ball and Berry, though, will end up finding one. 1-for-1 trade. Wonderful being down, though. That's a massive disadvantage now for Pickled Pepper. If the rest of YeezyPogChamp can stay alive, but they can't. The advantage has not been pressed. Pickled Pepper tear through the remaining YeezyPogChamp players, and it looks like they're going to get their 3rd point.
They managed to there on that retake, even throwing away the Ancient Rage. They just get the trade kill, and it ends up working out for them. So on this push, I mean, the defensive composition, they should be doing well on these mids, right? As soon as they try to walk in, but the pushes, I thought this is where they would struggle, and it seems like they've been going fine for them so far. Yeezy just can't really find a way in, even with the ROM making that space. They just block him out, right? Putting shield in the way, and then turn and burn him, because they definitely have the damage to do that.
Well, suddenly a game 5 to start off the weekend. Looking a lot more likely is Pickled Pepper up 3-0 in 7.5 minutes. We're starting to waltz their way into the YeezyPogChamp side of the map. Not yet, though. Hold your breath. The Whirlwind will delay out this fight. Wonderful's just going to get in, try to deny as much back cap as possible. Yato Acosta with 3 there down the stretch. That's the same thing we saw last time, though, Chris. This is where we saw Pickled Pepper effectively get deleted on the previous push, so nothing to be all that worried about just yet.
Yeah, they had to use a Whirlwind to make that happen, to actually walk in through the Burn Monster fire, so not going to have that up every fight. Boneberry is a very good support, but no one can have a Whirlwind up that often. There's just not enough health to heal in general as they disengage here. They have to give up a bit of space because they need their ROM to have something to kind of take back from them. He's coming on the side now, but look at this barrage on them all stacking up.
Big barrage, but only Emmett Payne goes down. Skeppy answers back onto Sin Cara. Suddenly Sin Cara is the one who's having a tough time here in that off-tank position. Field doing a good job keeping the rest of his squad alive. You see those marks more often than not. They're on those tanks. The rest of Pickled Pepper then have to do their job and staying alive. Seismic Crash stuns down a couple in the back. Skeppy now has the kill on Yato Acosta. I said no one wants to flank, but Emmett Payne is going to take up that mantle should he complete this rotation around the right-hand side. Crossfire into Ratatouille. Is that enough to get the health bar down? It sure is. Pull on in from Sin Cara, though, but he's going to put himself in a bit of an awkward spot as the rest of Pickled Pepper can now start to work their way forward. The overtime in a weird way. Bot time for Pickled Pepper to fight on in. The cart just inches away. YeezyPogChamp starting to respawn here. No hook this time around, but nobody in range to defend Pickled Pepper. 4-0. Send us on to a game 5.
Was that wrong? Really not touching the point? I honestly can't believe it.
We've gotten a couple of these in this set.
Yeah, wild. I thought he was turning around, but I guess he just didn't go over the edge in time. You just don't have the level of air control that you would otherwise there. And honestly, huge issue with the overpower near the end. It's so hard to actually get one off, right? And when you do it, they're already sitting right there around the corner. They're so close to you. They literally just walked in and finished the rest of their team off. While he was holding them, they get 1, but they lose maybe 3 trying to actually finish off on that pick that they thought they had.
And in the same way, it was good that YeezyPogChamp won Game 2 so convincingly. The fact that Pickled Pepper won Game 4 in 4-0 fashion maybe gives them a little bit of wind in their sails as we head on to Game 5. Before we get there, Aggro and Gore will break down this one.
Well, we were waiting for the Pickled Pepper we know and love to arrive, it felt like, and looked like they arrived on the Shattered Desert, Gore. That was very reminiscent of Jaguar Falls, making it look pretty easy there in Game 4.
Yeah, I mean, just being able to jump back into it and showcase their strengths. I think they had a good draft going in. Again, Rom into Makoa plus Tyra. She didn't look so great on Splitstone, but this time she got her feet underneath her, and that just really, really made it catastrophic for the one off-tank to try and perform. And then everything else kind of falls in line behind that. I think Inara being able to stand on the point, kind of as a weird way to say this, but Luna that can do more, right? She still has a stun. She can still stand on the point. Wow. But she's more of a healing sponge if you want to look at her in terms of IO. She's still my favorite support, and it's nice to see that she does still have a lot of merits to her. I think Wonderful had a lot of good walls, a lot of good seismic crashes. And all in all, again, Pickled Pepper were just able to get a little more aggressive, feel more confident. But it was their map pick once again for that one. And so that is the shakiness that comes through. They're still technically 1 game away from getting knocked down to the lower bracket. But if they can get another draft and just kind of play like that in the next map, then I don't think they're sweating too hard.
No, they're looking like they're back in form, which is the big key. But they also looked like this in Game 1 and then got 4-1 on Ascension Peak right afterwards. So it's not like it's been shown to guarantee the next map is going to be a victory for this squad. I agree with you, by the way, about the Inara. I don't know that I've ever seen 3 games of Paladins go through without Inara being picked or banned. Like, ever. That was maybe a first. I anticipate we'll see a little bit more Inara moving forward here in these Paladins World Championships, as this final game will be on Fish Market. Remember, this is only our first set of the day, and it's been really, really competitive already. I think it's shaping up to be a great day for North America here.
Yeah, it's definitely a good Paladins Friday. I mean, already going the distance, and we got to see Shattered Desert plus Fish Market and Ascension. I don't know, I'm just seeing a lot of maps that we don't typically get to go to. The fact that Stonekeep and Frog Eye were banned definitely helped facilitating that, as well as I think Brightmarsh being taken out. So there's not as many of the standards for these teams to go to. But I will say this, Aggro, Fish Market as a map 5, this can be very polarizing, and I want to equate this back. You go back to the PPL last year, watch Team Envy on this map, and no other team could do it the way Envy did. They just knew Fish Market like the back of their hand, and I'm a little worried if you're choosing this map. That's kind of what my mental, bar for you is now, is that you have to know this map, you have to know what draft you're going for, and the first thing I think of when I think Fish Market is Io. She does so much good for you if you have her on your team, because now someone's standing on the objective, you already want to fight on the sides. You don't care about the objective until you win the fight, and that just lets you go full force into the other team.
And immediately Io is taken away, which is a little bit surprising, Gore, because YeezyPogChamp have first pick, so they could have taken Io first overall. They decide they'd rather not. They also decide to ban away the Grover. So now Pickled Pepper's in a weird spot because Genos has been permabanned by them. They've already banned Torvald, and they feel like they need to keep this Sky out of YeezyPogChamp's hands, and understandably so, but that means that Genos is open, and that's exactly where YeezyPogChamp's going to go.
And it's kind of frightening to think about letting him through. It's game 5. This is where things can change the most. I will put in the side note that a lot of these teams have played against Genos. There hasn't been enough that's changed him to make him incredibly insane, compared to what they were facing all year. Anytime he got through, last year when he got through, I mean, not a lot that has made him stand above and beyond everybody else. It's just the fact that he's so consistent. He can heal through walls. He gives you a damage amp. He's going to be able to find 3 astral marks, 4 if you've got the cooldown and have some of that late game potential when you spend your credits. But it's the compositions that he enables. You can go triple DPS, which on a map like Fish Market is perfect. I think YeezyPogChamp, they are pretty much throwing their cards on the table with that one. But because there's so many DPS that are available, you can't really scoop them away if you're Pickled Pepper. And this is feeling like a good side for the boys in blue.
I think so too. The Strix and now the Lex, who's been picked in a lot of these games. Win rate not as inspiring, only 33% for him, but still not been bad overall. A lot more Lex than I expected to see throughout the first set, but as I said, he's been fairly successful, so I guess it makes sense. As Corvus comes through as expected with Genos already taken off the table and Io banned, Corvus kind of next one up.
Yeah, and Corvus, don't get me wrong, is incredible for very much similar reasons as Genos. I think that's why he's typically the one that, if you saw them, especially after Corvus was released into competitive play, they were banned together in tandem. If one team had one and the other team didn't have the other, then you were at kind of a little bit of a detriment. But like you said, he hasn't necessarily had maybe the cleanest games of all, I think, paired with a Vivian, a Makoa, a Nara. This is a very clean composition so far from Pickled Pepper. Nothing that seems too out of the ordinary, though, which, again, they've been running things like the Tyra that has been maybe a little shaky for them. I'm wondering if they're going to lock in something that's just as stable just to make this a 5-man strong comp.
Feels like that might be the case, as you called the triple DPS here for YeezyPogChamp, and they're going to go with it. Strix, Lex, Koga, all going to bring the deeps, especially when enhanced by that Genos, leaving the Khan as the sole tank, but that's not the first time YeezyPogChamp have done that in this set. Victor rounds it out for Pickled Peppers. Gore, I'm surprised we're even at this point, but I got to ask you, Game 5, who do you think's going down to the losers bracket?
Man, triple DPS typically wins Fish Market. It's not a blanket statement. It's not always 100%, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to see the team with the triple DPS come out on top. I can't believe I'm saying this, but unless they have a really solid performance, I'm looking at the Makoa more than anything. Pickled Pepper, the team that I think might get knocked down here in Game 5. I like what YeezyPogChamp have.
Well, they've lived by the hook so far, Gormizer, but will they die by the hook? Makoa going to be the focal point here for Pickled Pepper in game number 5.
Set 1 of this weekend, we're already into a Game 5. You got to be kidding me. How'd we get so lucky with this? How'd Pickled Pepper get so unlucky? How'd YeezyPogChamp show up to play in the way that they have? Lots of questions arise here in this one. The one that we'll find the answer to right now will be who goes down to the losers bracket, who continues on. A couple answers we've already gotten, though, Krez. One of them is that this YeezyPogChamp team has shown up to play.
And I think they've shown up in the draft for this map as well, just looking at what they have. Even though Solo Tenkan may be weird, being obviously more common in NA, I really do not like the Pickled Pepper draft. I think that both Tanks and Vivian, this is just not the Fish Market's map. Fish Market is arguably Makoa's worst map. I think it's just so wide. It's tough for him to get hooks. And Inara, the lowest mobility tank in the game, is also not who you really want on Fish Market. So they might just get kited for the rest of this game by Yeezy. They need to find a way to burn someone down or somehow get close enough to them to actually get a pick.
What a story that would be, huh, if YeezyPogChamp were able to knock down Pickled Pepper, the best team in the region, in game number 1. We're not talking about a later on grand final. We're talking game 1. This is technically the first versus the worst seed in these North American championships, and it's YeezyPogChamp that have definitely shown up to play. Pickled Pepper have shown those streaks, though. A couple 4-0 wins in this set. But here on Fish Market is the only map that matters, and it's 81% is the number that matters for YeezyPogChamp at the moment, and it is climbing. Pickled Pepper, they got to walk in here. They're going to eat a lot of damage on their way into this point, and it's Feel who gets Void gripped on up, and look at the disengage already from Pickled Pepper. They realize they don't have much of a chance. YeezyPogChamp on the board.
Yeah, and they get Feel catch him out there. I think he was trying to blink into the point, and once that happens, I mean, obviously no one's going to be able to survive. Maybe they could have gotten healed and actually extended it, but couldn't do it. It is just such a hard game, I think, for Pickled Pepper. We're just watching Wadak free farm here on the Strix. How do they get into him? They really don't. They have to somehow get close enough to put a half shell down in range for their DPS to do something, or use a Victor Barrage. Otherwise, they really can't touch the Strix at all.
Right, I mean, pause maybe benefiting Pickled Pepper here more than anyone else, but we will unpause. Right back into game we go. And this is, Krez, the opposite of what you want to see on Fish Market if you're defending, is already the attacking team being on top of this hill, on top of the bowl that you're fighting down into, especially when they have a Strix.
Yeah, it's very tough, and once you get over this hill, this is where the map really does, like you said, go kind of out of control. Once you do get here. And he's just playing so far away. Look at this world separating them from this Strix. Right. Now they are rotating. Look at the long rotation they have to make. They're going all the way around through the right side of spawn, but now that the half shell's down, they have to put up a wall. Just everything they can possibly put in the way between them and Wadak.
Oh, and not much is helping out Wadak. Killing spree now. 5 streak, 3 of them are kills. Couple assists there as well. Yato Acosta been cut out on his own, but here comes a flank from Ratatouille, but it's Wadak from the other side of the map that's going to get the kill. I'm not sure how you can compete with this. I mean, it's triple DPS, but it's all different facets. It's range damage, it's flank damage, it's delete damage. All of it is working for YeezyPogChamp. A double kill from Ratatouille. Yato Acosta will make 3. There's your triple, Ratatouille. 2-0 up go YeezyPogChamp. They did not have to use a single ultimate in that one. They did not lose a single team member. 0 deaths across the board. This is domination of the top team in this region.
And the Genos and the Strix and everything in between is what's really doing it for them. Pickled Pepper, Legacy has done almost... Legacy has 1,400... He hasn't even hit 3 shots since this game started. Unreal. Honestly, unreal game from them so far, but this is just, again, they're forcing Makoa on what is his worst map. He cannot cross this gap to get in. If he picks one side, there's a Koga in the way. Pick the other side, there's a Lex in the way. They are all just farming off of his massive, massive cranium that he has kind of sticking out before anything else here. Maybe they can make it work once they get an Ancient Rage charge up to actually live, but he is only 57% to it because he's only hit 3 shots since this game started, and they're trying to make pressure, but they're just getting kited.
Well, there is a small silver. All right, never mind. Ball and Berry with 2. Ratatouille will pick one up as well. Suddenly, Pickled Pepper decimated off the map. YeezyPogChamp, they throw out an overpower. That one misses. I'm saying maybe that's the silver lining, but a double kill on the through time and space will set up the rest of the fight. And here comes the zone.
They have a great zone here, too. Hit scans basically mean you can't get anywhere even close to the point on this map because you can spam from so far away. Maybe they get their first kill of the game here with the way that they're kiting. Nope, can't even find that. There's no way they'll touch. Maybe they'd have to give it to him at this point. Maybe someone's controller would have to become unplugged, I guess. But as they hold here. Everyone's stuck on one side, but Yeezy, they can just kite away and again continue to play off Monek.
I mean, this is nothing shy of brutal. Maybe Ratatouille goes down for first blood here for Pickled Pepper, but not to be. The ultimate will keep him alive. Nearly the 360 from Yato Acosta, but wonderful. Will get the first kill of the game after 3 straight points from YeezyPogChamp. But that has not slowed down the attacking team at all. Right back to the top of the mountain they go. Right back to the bottom of the bowl goes Pickled Pepper, and this card is moving quick.
And you know, that can't feel good. I get that it must be like, all right, we got a kill, but it can't feel good that it was on a ulting 360ing Lex, right? You can't be too happy about that, but
no,
Pickled
no
Pepper,
chance.
they might be able to make some ground. They have this actually good space with the half shell, but look at this rotation. They're just being matched by Yeezy, and they can't really contest. Legacy almost take it down from full to gone.
I don't know, man. I mean, what a way for this one to likely end here. And the writing was on the wall. Emmett Payne gets a double, so I'm not going to call this one over just yet. A couple of kills from the Vivian. Keep this card exactly where it's at. Waiting for the rest of YeezyPogChamp to rejoin the fray is all we're doing here at this point. Sin Cara has the overpower, flashbang through time and space for Ball and Berry. He's going to be ready to go here shortly. The YeezyPogChamp team is going to have the tools they need to work this one in here in just a moment. Sin Cara will buy some space. Another overpower misses, so if nothing else, Krez, big piece of utility that's now gone.
They did actually get a pick off that, though. He threw away his life to kill the
no.
Victor, and with a second DPS kill,
no.
this could just snowball in.
Krez, I think it's happening here. Wonderful. He's trying to keep this card at bay. You have got to be kidding me. Game number 1 goes the way of Pickled Pepper. We think this one's over, but game 5 will go the way of YeezyPogChamp and your number 1 seed down to the loser's bracket after 1 set.
And just not even a close final game, just they got brutalized. There was nothing.
Was 4-2 the closest we had?
Yes.
I'm trying to. It was what?
Splitstone was the
4-2?
closest on 4-2. And then they started having to ban Sky, and then they had arguably the worst possible draft for Fish Market they could have. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I don't think it could have been a worse draft on this map. Maybe they could have had a Ceres instead. Ceres is actually good on this map. It might actually have been a Grok healer. Otherwise, I don't know what else they could have done. Their tanks they were not set up for Fish Market.
I mean, look, I'll give Gore, some credit here. I think he says 9 out of 10 times this YeezyPogChamp draft wins, just to buy himself that 1 out of 10 where maybe Pickled Pepper win. But I think he's looking at, the gas pumps. They have the dollar signs like 0.99 after. I mean, it's like 9 out of 10, 9999 repeating. This one was just maybe over in picks and bans. YeezyPogChamp story of the weekend maybe already set. Your 4th seed in North America knocked down the 1 seed in a 5-game set. We'll go back to the desk, though, to break down the entire thing.
Well, in all of Phase 2, we only saw Pickled Pepper lose a set once. And in one potential set here at the Paladins World Championship, Pickled Pepper have lost to the 4th seed here in YeezyPogChamp. Gormizer, what a story to kick us off here in North America. Can't ask for anything better than this. An incredible upset here performed by YeezyPogChamp.
Yeah, see, all you got to see is, wonderful, he's out of here. You got Legacy, he's out of here. You got Payne, he's out of here. Skeppy, he's gone too. I'm actually going to need that back. I only have 1 copy of all of these. Also, shout-outs to Blue for making these cards for him last year. But, I mean, you've got players that have been so historically great. I mean, there's a reason, again, that I have these out of them, that they have stat cards that I have on my desk for it. It's the fact that they have been so historically good, and they've lost 2 important sets so far, in this last half of the year. Once, they lost 3-2 to Snappin' during the regular season. And now 3-2 to not the I'm going to be honest, a team I was kind of counting out. I was looking at this bracket, and I kind of assumed that YeezyPogChamp was going to be the first one eliminated. The fact that they are staying up alive in the top bracket is just amazing for them. And again, this draft on this map, is just devastating. I mean, I don't know what you are supposed to do against this if you have a draft similar to what we had on the side of Pickled Pepper. Maybe even if you're hitting these hooks, consistently, there's just too much DPS on the other side. And I had joked about this at one point. Finch was saying, like, man, what do you do with this solo tank con? Like, they keep going back to it, and I was like, on other maps, there's a little bit of wiggle room. Solo tank con isn't necessarily the best, but on Fish Market, he's not playing solo tank here. He's playing fat DPS, and when you get Ball and Barry back in form hitting shots like that the same way he did during his debut, everything is just going to look smooth for your team.
Man, Ball and Barry, unbelievable shot there. That must be the best feeling because you've just won that point. Like, you cannot lose when you just one-shot two people with one ultimate, specifically your support ultimate. At that, Ball and Barry absolutely pops off here in game number 5. And that means the YeezyPogChamp are moving on to your semifinals, and that Snappin and Sanguine now have that much more pressure on them to win their quarterfinal matchup because the loser is going to get a very angry Pickled Pepper team, which I cannot imagine is one that you want to see down in losers round 1.
That third match, that's going to be down there, Pickled Pepper versus literally whoever, is something I'm a little worried about. But there is something to be said. If Snappin go down there, they're the only other team to have beaten Pickled Pepper. There is a world where your first seed gets eliminated. They just lose twice in a row. Granted, I would also bet that it's a 5-game set if that's going to be the case. But the fact that there is that precedent coming through, I think is very important for them. This next one, like you said, important because no matter what, you either play the team that just beat Pickled Pepper or you play Pickled Pepper. Either way, I don't think I'm really happy with the results, but I'd like to stay in the top bracket as long as possible.
Well, make sure you stay tuned. You clearly cannot afford to miss a single match this whole weekend if that's how we're kicking it off. We'll be right back here with more Paladins World Championship.